So Tony Abbott, of what you know of him personally, would he see this as beneath him, or do you think he still has the hunger to get back into politics? I mean, you know, he didn't think he probably would lose that seat of Warringah when he did, and he obviously still is relevant. He's only 65 years old. Do you think he might still have the hunger?
Oh, I think that Tony Abbott undoubtedly has a hunger. He wants to contribute to society. He is a political animal. He has very long parliamentary experience, and he has a lot to offer the coalition and the Liberal Party. How he does that, how he can be used, we're yet to see. Part of the discussion about this idea of whether he would go to the Senate or to the House isn't so much an issue as whether Tony Abbott would see the Senate as below him. I don't think he would at all as a parliamentarian. But I think that the question is, where would he be most effective? Would he be effective in the Senate, where he is a man who is best at bluster in opposition, being the tough, hard person? Or would he be better off in the House, where, after all, that's where the real government takes place? And so I think that the issue, and a lot of senior Liberals have said to me in the last couple of days, the issue for Tony Abbott, people say he has every right to come back. Question is, should he come back to the Senate or the House? And the problem is, if he comes back to the House, he's immediately seen as a potential rival as leader. And I make this point, in no time in Australia's 120-year plus parliamentary history has a Prime Minister either lost his position or resigned and come back to the Parliament in either the House or the Senate. And John Anderson, the former Deputy Prime Minister, he failed in his attempt to come back to the Senate before the last election. So it's a very tall order, but I think that Michael Kroger has ensured that the rank and file support for Tony Abbott, I mean, the reaction on the Australian's website today to the story was overwhelmingly in favour of Tony Abbott from rank and file Liberal members.
No surprise probably to you, Dennis, that the Twitterati, the lefties on Twitter, are all beside themselves with the prospect of Tony Abbott coming back to politics.
Well, yes, the cartoonists be rubbing their hands. Look, I think that obviously one of the problems or advantages that Tony Abbott has is that he polarises things, but he says things, he stands for convictions, and it makes people either support him or not. But at the moment, the coalition and the Liberal Party in particular could do with as many people as possible supporting them. Whether they'll be the people who voted for the Teals at the last election coming back to support the Liberals if they have Tony Abbott on their front bench is another issue. I
guess his biggest problem is he's got to get past the toxic Liberal Party of New South Wales, doesn't he? Well, that is the biggest hurdle, Steve. Let's not forget that Tony Abbott led the reform for party rules and representation and plebiscites in New South Wales. There is no way that if he were to decide to take up Michael Kroger's suggestion and make a run for the pre-selection for the Senate position, he would have to do it through the full 750-member state council. He'd have to do it like every other potential candidate, and he would be facing a Liberal Party probably after the next state election, which will be even more chaotic than it is at the moment, more riven by factions. The right wing of the Liberal Party in New South Wales doesn't even know who its leader is. There are 3 or 4 people who claim to be the leader of the right, and that's where Tony Abbott would want his support. Yes, he's very popular amongst the rank and file. People say yes and cheer the fact that he might come back, but he still has to get through a Liberal Party pre-selection process where there are a lot of people who don't like him
and who, even on the moderate side, are starting to say they need to have renewal, including one of the moderates' own senators, Maurice Payne, that they should go and have a whole new slate to begin with. So there are big, big challenges for Tony Abbott if he were to decide to run for that Senate vacancy.
Great to catch up, Dennis. I'll read you in the Oz tomorrow, mate. Thanks a lot.